Hello, Dr. Cambiano. My name is Andy Rice. This is Project 2 over the learning styles. And what I found out for my learning style was that I am very oral or auditory. And I did use a couple of different assessments, and they all agreed that I was significantly higher auditory-wise other than any of the other learning styles. The only one that came close was visual, and it was still about a third of the score of my auditory. So obviously I learn best by hearing, and so lecture suits me very well. Being able to question out loud, be able to talk about what I have problems understanding, and so that is obviously my strength. As far as normal classes go, I found that being able to listen, using the original strategy as far as how classes have been presented, since the dawn of time, I guess, those suit me just fine. I like the lecture. I learn best from that. And so surprise-wise, what I found was I was surprised to know that only 30% of people are auditory learners. So going back to how my classes have been in the past and how I still see classes today, that's a little bit scary, knowing that only 30% of the learners learn from a lecture-style format. The other one that surprises me is that I'm a math major, and most math majors are definitely not auditory. So the impacts of learning from an auditory person is obviously that they must hear for them to have the best chance of learning. And so the other fact that I did like was that the auditory learner will remember about 75% of what they hear in a lecture. As far as teaching strategies go, teachers are going to want to rephrase, they're going to want to question, they're going to want to vary their speed, volume, pitch, anything that can basically add tone to what you are teaching is going to provide more insight to the auditory learner. If you can write down key points or key words, that will also help, because sometimes pronunciation can really mess up an auditory learner. So during lessons, auditory learners, you want to make sure that they are in a position in the room that makes sense for them to sit down and actually obtain as much of the lesson as possible. Some of their strengths as far as an auditory learner goes is they remember what they hear and say. They are going to thrive in small group discussions, something that puts them together, something that they can help themselves with when they can talk to another student. Their strength is going to be oral presentations, when they can actually hear themselves speak what they know and the knowledge that they know. And then obviously they understand the information and are able to process it the best when they hear it. So the implication. So what can students do from their point of view if they know they're an auditory learner? Some of the things that I've already mentioned a little bit is like your small group work. So if I'm a student and I want to make sure that I'm understanding the material the best I can, I want to make sure that I am using small groups. I'm having study groups at my house or whatever I can do to make sure I'm understanding what's going on. When they're studying, they can recite, out loud what it is that they learned, what it is that they need to remember. And so, when they read through books, they want to make sure they are hearing the titles. They're hearing what's going on. A student can describe a picture to themselves, and they can come up with details from that, parts of the story that's going to make them understand. One of the odd excerpts that I read about was that even though they're auditory, colors will really stand out. And I found this interesting because one of the assessments that I mentioned earlier had a visual on that side. And so I wonder if maybe my math background and why I'm so comfortable using math is part of that visual side. And so not only am I hearing the lesson, but I'm also able to see the workings of the problems, and possibly that's why math came, or at least it made sense to me. I wouldn't say it came easy, but it made sense to me. Anything they do, auditory wise, they want to make sure they're reading out loud. They want to use anything that's going to not only enhance the sense of hearing, but they want to make sure that they're tying those into different things, and that's kind of where some of the color part comes into play. When they're asking their teacher if they can do an assignment, they can also ask the teacher if it's possible for them to maybe do an oral presentation. And so that provides them a learning feedback, and that's obviously something that they're going to be comfortable with, which I think is funny because this is the first video I've ever done. All right, so the other thing is, anytime that we have something presented in front of us, tactile, whether it be kinesthetic, whether it be visual, any of those, what really comes to play, though, is that I can either read, I can describe to myself, I can do anything that allows myself to vocalize what it is that I feel, that I see, that I touch. And what it does is that is a way for me to bring in all of my learning styles together. So that is the implication of students. And I also talked about the impact of learning. And so I do want to thank you. I thought this was actually a very, very interesting project, and look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you so much.